Hey girls, I am at the Anaheim Convention Center and it's the LA Religious Education Congress, and I'm going to go inside and see if I can find some people to interview about vocations. It's Mrs. Reagan. I'm here at the Religious Ed Congress with Christopher. He is a Franciscan, and I am going to ask him some questions for our vocations interview. So Christopher, when did you enter religious life?
2 years ago.
3 years ago? What made you want to do that?
Well, I'm coming from the Marine Corps. So,
Nice.
I like the whole community piece of it. I needed support in my faith because I'm from North Carolina. Not a lot of Catholics in North Carolina. My family's not Catholic. I converted at 14. So I'm kind of on my own here with that kind of support. But I saw what the world had to offer me in the Marine Corps. What the world, and even on TV and music, says will make you happy. Power and money and authority and pleasure. If you have all those things, the world says that'll make you happy. And so I chased after it, and I wasn't happy. And I looked at people who had it more than I did. Superstars and rock stars and professional athletes, because I certainly could have been a professional athlete. I like to think anyway. No one's going to convince me otherwise. But they're killing themselves, and they're on drugs, and they're destroying their lives, and they're in depression, and they're seeing therapists. They're not happy. So I didn't buy what the world was telling me. I looked at something with a little bit more authenticity, and that's been around a little bit longer than what they're saying is the iPhone. It's been around, the church has been around a little bit longer than the iPhone. Hard to believe, but maybe they had something that I needed to take a look at. So.
Okay. And what would you say is the best part of religious life?
Best part of religious life, it allows you to be free. It allows you to be who you are. And I think for a lot of young people, my passion is young people. I think for a lot of younger people, my generation is younger. I'm only 23, so I'm not super old. They had this desire to be themselves, real. They feel like they can't do it because the world wants them to be someone else. And they're saying, what do you want me to be? I'll be that because we have a need to belong. But what the religious life does is it kind of helps you take down some of those structures that we put up. And this is who I am because that's who God made me to be. And you're in community with other guys or other girls that support that. And they love you for who you are, not who they want you to be.
Nice.
That's probably the best part.
What would you say is the most difficult part?
Living in community with other guys is probably the most difficult part.
I can hear that. My husband teaches at an all-boys school.
Yeah, it's just very real. You know, I think some people look at religious life and they think it's really very different than what it actually is. I did. I thought all these guys prayed every day and they walked around like this, and they don't. We're very real people. You know, we have arguments, we have fights. There's people who don't take out the garbage, and that drives me insane. There's people who, leave an empty can of Coke on the table, and that drives me insane. But that's where growth happens, I think. I think that's, if we can get through those situations and love anyway, and do it anyway, without having to prove our agenda that they did something wrong, that's where growth comes in. Very often we pray for patience, and then God gives us all these opportunities for patience, we don't take them. The Chinese character for challenge can be taken as opportunity. So challenges are all, and there's a lot of challenges when you live with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So just take them all as opportunity to grow.
And what's one thing you could tell the young people about vocations that you'd want them to know that they might not be thinking before watching this?
First of all, I would say what I think we get wrong in vocations as a church is we often challenge before we affirm. We often say, you ever thought about being a priest or religious? Or hey, you ever thought about wearing brown more often, or white more often, or black more often? And I think that's the wrong approach. I would say what you have as your gifts are God-given. Some can sing, some can dance, some can possess an enormous amount of knowledge. Whatever your gifts are, be affirmed in that. And then you look at that and say, wow, you're a good reader, or you're a good dancer. You could really use that in religious life doing this kind of ministry. For me, I'm a people person. And it took someone saying, you'd be a great Franciscan because you're just everywhere. And So I would affirm you in your gifts. I don't know what your gifts are, but I know God's given them to you. And I would appreciate that. And then pray about it. It may be no, but it's only fair to ask the question. It's only fair to ask the question. Because when you date guys, you ask the question, is this someone I want to hang out with or not? Same thing with religious life. Is this what God's calling me to? And it's a fair question. Just be willing to ask it.
All right, one last thing. Can I get a high five?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much. Pray for me. I'll pray for your
I will.
soul.
Thank you. I am here with Sister Laura, Brother Ryan, and Sister Guadalupe, and we are doing high five for Vocations. And the first question I have for each of you is, when did you enter religious life?
I entered when I was 23 years old, in 2007.
Okay.
I'm a novice this year, so this is my first year of religious life.
Oh my gosh, God bless you!
Thank you.
I entered when I was 18 years old in 2004.
Oh my gosh, you guys are babies! Alright, so what would Jen say is the best thing about religious life?
I get to spend my whole day talking about God and spending time with Him. He's the one who loved me first, and He's the one that I love too. So I get to spend my whole life with the one I love.
Aww.
For me, it would be the joy of living in fraternity and growing in a constant, deeper relationship with God.
Nice!
And I would have to say prayer life is one of my favorite things about religious life and our apostolate. That we do get to spend the whole time talking about the one we love. So
Nice! So what would Jen say is the most difficult part about religious life?
I can answer that.
Okay.
She can think about it.
Yeah, think about it.
You know, just we are human, so for me would be community life. We have to learn how to deal with each other, and we're sisters, and how to be a witness of that greater love, of the commandment that Jesus gave us. Love one another as I have loved you. And I think that's for every Christian. It's pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
And I would say that would be for everyone, but especially also in community life, religious life.
Yeah, my answer doesn't change. It's the same.
I keep getting this answer.
Living in fraternity, it's a wonderful joy, but well, God gave us brothers, and well, they can be pretty difficult. And growing constantly in a deeper relationship with God, it's not always fun listening to what He says sometimes. But that constant challenge of going deeper in my vocation, my relationship with Him it's a challenge, but it's such an incredible blessing.
Yes, I would agree with them that community life is, although it is a great joy, it's also a challenge in that we have to really learn how to love each other, even if we don't necessarily have the same likes, even if our personalities don't mesh well, we still learn to love each other, to forgive each other, and that's not always easy, but it's worth it, and it does bring joy.
It really helps us to be a great witness of what we're all called to do in this life, not just religious life. We work on it harder because we're religious, but actually we're all called to do it. And it bears great fruit.
And I forgot to ask you, Jins are all really young. Why did you decide to enter religious life?
Because actually I wanted to be an archaeologist before I became a sister. It was really fascinating, and I wanted to travel to Africa and do archaeology and all that. But what I found was that after I graduated college, I had a job as an archaeologist. This was the job I wanted since I was in second grade. But even though this was what I always wanted, I found myself spending more time in church, spending more time with God, and spending more time with the sisters. And that's where I found my greatest joy. Even though I had this job that I always wanted, I was happier, more fulfilled when I was giving my time to the church, with spending time with God and being with the sisters. So that was kind of a sign for me that, I think God was good that He gave me the job I always wanted, but then I could really see that I'm going to be happier giving my life to Him. So.
Nice.
I guess for me, I've noticed that God has a really loud voice, and when you start listening to Him, it's really hard not to listen to Him. So, but yeah, for me it was just seeing the joy that all the friars had, and the joy of their life, and that was really, really appealing to me. And the more I was around them, the more at home I felt with them, and the more that sense of calling, that belonging there.
For me, it would be the same. Once I found out God was calling me, that was that excitement of, I can't wait. Why would I make Him wait? Why would I wait any longer? So at age 18, I only did 1 year community college.
Uh-huh.
But then there to go now, not
Oh
wait
my
later on.
gosh.
And so it was that excitement of go now. So I did.
Wow. All right, and so one more thing. Can I get a high five for Vocations? Oh,
yeah.
High five.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They were all different ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Here with Father Brendan at St. Columban's. And let's see, my first question is, how long have you been a priest?
This is my 7th year as a priest. I was ordained in 2006.
Okay. And why did you want to become a priest?
I really just felt it was a call from God inviting me to, just kind of like when you're hungry and your stomach leads you to food. I felt this call in my heart from God to get to know Him closer and closer, and eventually that led me to have the desire to become a priest.
And what's the best part of religious life?
For me, it's seeing miracles all the time, of always having that evidence that God is here and alive in the presence of people around me. So seeing the miracles of God in so many people's lives each and every day is wonderful for me.
Nice. And what's the hardest part?
It's like being a mom or a dad. Again, being a priest isn't a job, so it doesn't start or end. It just always is. And there's we're on call for people who get sick or are about to die, and that's 24 hours a day. So the commitment of time is huge. So, but again, like being a parent, you love what you do so much. It's exhausting, but it's also very life-giving. So I guess the demand of time is the most challenging.
And if there were one thing you could tell the young people about religious life that would surprise them, what would it be?
It is the most exciting thing that you could do. It's again, to be with God is to have everything, the fullness of life, the source of life and joy. And if God calls you to a vocation, to the priest or religious life, it's because He wants to give you everything. And so some people think that becoming a priest is giving up stuff. It's not. It's putting stuff aside so that you can empty your arms to receive something more. But I sometimes wonder why there aren't more priests. I feel like a little kid who knows a secret that nobody else knows, and I wonder, how come no one else is doing this? And so it's a beautiful, beautiful gift. So don't be afraid. Be courageous, because God wants to give you something that you couldn't even wish for yourself, because it's so good. So God calls you, answer.
Nice. All right, Sophia, can you hold this? Okay. Can you face it over here? All right, and one last thing. Can I get a high five?
Absolutely. All right.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Absolutely.
All right. This is Christina. Hello. And Sister Pat.
Hi there.
And Lynn. And they are Dominican sisters.
Yay.
And the first thing I want to ask you guys is when you entered into religious life.
I entered about 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
20 years ago.
20 years ago?
3 months ago.
3 months ago?
3 months ago.
Oh my goodness. God bless you. All right, and so I guess I'll start on this side. Why would you want to do that?
God.
God?
God is beautiful. God is amazing. There just wasn't anything better.
Excellent.
I don't know, it seemed like a really great idea at the time, and 20 years later, I love being a sister.
Nice. Lynn?
Yeah, just respond to God's call.
Nice.
I like it.
All right. And what would you say is the best thing about religious life?
The focus.
Focus?
Focus on God. It's a very joyful life. You get to focus on people. You get to pray. You just get to experience that joy. And I haven't spent that much time doing this,
Right.
obviously, but it's been very, very joyful.
Nice.
Community, the support of the sisters, praying together, eating together, living together, and even though we don't all do the same things, it's the support of the sisters for you in your ministry.
Nice.
A me community as well, but the service. We call our work as a service, not a job anymore. So I have different perspective as a sister.
Nice. All right, and what would you say is the most difficult thing?
Community.
Community.
The same thing that is the best thing is also the hardest.
Yes.
Because living with people is not easy, whether it's your sisters or whether it's your family.
It's love. It's love. Love requires sacrifice.
Is that the hard thing?
That is the hard thing. You can't love somebody without risking hurt. That's just how that works.
Sister Lynn?
Me is the schedule.
Schedule?
I have a different schedule, so sometimes I cannot pray with the sister because of my working schedule.
Okay. And if there was one thing you could tell young people about vocations that might surprise them, what would it be?
It's liberating.
Liberating. How so?
It brings you back to who you really are, or maybe who you were meant to be all along.
Nice.
And you know you can try it. It's not like getting married. Well, once you get married, that's it. And then you have children, and that's really it. But you can try on being a brother or trying on being a sister for several years before you make a final decision.
Nice.
Okay, I support Sister Catholic because this is my third time. The first 2 times I got sick, so they sent me home.
Oh.
But I still believe that I have a call, so I tried this time and it works.
Nice. Thank you, sisters. And can I get a high five for Vocations?
High five.
Yeah. Woo. Thank you. I am here with Sister Bernadette at St. Columban's, and I'm filming for High Five for Vocations. And Sister Bernadette, my first question is, when did you enter religious life?
When did I enter? I entered in 1962.
And why did you choose that for your life?
Well, a few times in my life prior to that, I just had this feeling, this kind of a drawn feeling to this life. I had read some vocation storiettes why other young women followed that call, and it just seemed to spark something in me.
Nice. And what's your favorite thing about religious life? I don't know if you...
Let's see, my favorite thing. Well, the opportunities I've had for prayer and reflection and reading and workshops and retreats in regards to spirituality. That's a huge thing. But going along with that is community life. That you have other like-minded people who enjoy the same type of things and who are interested in discussing the same kind of experiences.
Nice. And what's been the most difficult part?
The most difficult part was when I first entered, and most difficult about it was that I felt lonely. I was away from my family, and I particularly loved to dance before I entered. And when I first entered, I was about 2 months after I entered, I was sent to this convent where down the street there was a dance hall. There was a dance hall, and I could hear the music. And at evening time, at night time, and I'd be going to bed about 9:30, getting ready for bed up in my room, I could hear the music from the dance hall, and that was hard.
Wow. And if you could tell the young people something about religious life that you think would surprise them, what would it be?
What would surprise them? That, we still do fun things, we like to go to movies and theater and walk in nature, and so we're not always on our knees praying, for example. And then that we also, although on the knees praying or in your chair praying, it's a big part of our lives, and we cherish that really, but also the great opportunities for ministry. I think sometimes being a sister, people have shared things from their lives with me that they have told me, I wouldn't just share this easily, but I feel, I can share it with you. So that is a great, that's a wonderful thing, I think, that you can be there and listen. Now, all people do that, whether in religious life or not. But I think it even opens maybe more avenues for that.
Nice. And one more thing. Sophia, take the camera. Wow. Hold it. You gotta film. All right. Hold it steady. And get a high five for Vocations. Yeah!